Well, Larry, it's a pleasure to be here with you today and talk about your investment philosophy and your work here at AMINO Capital. We're actually here at the office. So I'd love to learn more about AMINO Capital and, how you started it and, what was the purpose behind it.
Yeah, thank you for coming, Patrick. It's good to be with you. Yeah, AMINO has been a great venture for all of us. So we started this 5 years ago. We are all basically engineers and scientists, and then turn into an executive or entrepreneurs. And so we accumulate a bunch of money and a lot of experience. So we want to help the young entrepreneurs. So at that point, we decided to start a fund investing in entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley.
And what were the early days like?
Yeah, initially we all investing our own money. But as individual investors, there are certain amount of very high risk actually, because you don't have people to check on, to bounce ideas around. You give some money to some people, and if they do well, they move on to bigger investors. But if they don't do well, they're ashamed to see you. So either way, successful or failure, they all disappear. But later we find out when we together investing, then we form an ecosystem. So we can help the entrepreneurs a lot more. Secondly, we can evaluate the ideas or the people a lot better. In that case, the investment result is getting better. Also, the most important thing is we form an ecosystem where we have more impact on those individuals and startup teams, because that forces them actually to do things with a higher level of integrity, because they know if they mess up certain things, lots of people know it. So in that sense, they work harder, they do things with a much higher level of integrity. So as a team, we put money together, we invest. It turned out to be a very, very good idea.
And you also invest into first-time entrepreneurs, which is an additional risk. So how do you evaluate entrepreneurs?
Yeah. So the reason we like the first check or to invest in first-time entrepreneurs is because we feel they need help most. Secondly, most of the entrepreneurs, they are more technical. And as a fund, all of our partners have a technical background. They were either scientists or engineers or professors. So we know technical stuff the best. So in that case, we start with the technical people or first-time entrepreneur. We have certain advantage.
And what kind of trends are you most excited about, when it comes to the investment landscape?
Most of us are data-related engineer or scientists. So in that case, we invest mostly in people who are working on data. They're either somehow accumulate lots of data, or people who utilize data, using data to develop a better algorithm. So we like those kind of companies. Also, it turned out the data right now is a new gold mine.
Yeah, it's a new oil. I was reading The Economist that
Right.
had this headline. The new oil is data.
Right, because in Silicon Valley, the technology is important, but at the same time, you can hire a lot of technical people easily if you have the influence. However, the data is a real barrier. So if you accumulate a certain amount of data, it's very difficult for other people to catch up or to copy. Whereas if you are a pure algorithm or technology companies, actually it's a lot easy for other companies to copy and to catch up. The data normally, once you're starting to accumulate, you build a certain kind of a mechanism or ecosystem, the data just keep growing, and that's the real barrier.
So you're talking about sort of what Warren Buffett says is the mode, right?
Uh-huh.
As an investor, you want to invest into companies that have a certain mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk more about that? How companies, you invest into companies that have this mode when it comes to data?
Yeah. So we like companies that, first of all, they are able to accumulate data in a very special way, not just crawling the web. Because if you can crawl the information from the web, basically that means Google can do it.
It needs to be original data.
Right.
Right.
So that is very special. That's why we sometimes invest certain companies that has a certain level of hardware component, because those sensors, those hardwares,
new data, right?
Right, it's new data. That data that you cannot crawl.
Finding new oil rigs.
Right. Yeah. So that's the thing we like. Secondly, is the way, it's a unique way they get feedback from the user or from the community, because the so-called machine learning is you have to learn. It's not just accumulating data by itself. Somehow you have to tell or tag the data. So for artificial intelligence, the most important part is tagging the data. So we like company that's able to allow users to accumulate data, also allow them to give feedback to the data they're collecting. So in that case, it's really starting the machine learning automatically. So we like accumulate data and we like tagging data by the user community.
And if you had to like brush sort of, the future of artificial intelligence and the biggest trends that are happening, like what are you really excited about that artificial intelligence can do, like to improve society and make life easier for a lot of people?
Yeah, so the most obvious thing we are looking at is the genomic technology, because the way you do a DNA testing, the cost is reduced tenfold per year. So basically, it's affordable to everybody very soon, because it might cost still a few $100s, but that data itself worth a lot of money. So very soon, there will be a lot of hospital or institutions, they will do it for free, as long as you allow them to use your data. So in that case, those kind of data will grow exponentially very soon. And also, we predict that the genomic data will become more than the audio data on the internet, audio and video data on the internet. So this is a huge amount of data that will be processed. And that presents a lot of challenges. So those challenges will present a lot of opportunities for the entrepreneurs. Predict the cancers early. So that will save lots of lives. So that's one of the areas we are really excited about.
So like before you make an investment, like what are the things you're looking at, that make a great investment?
Okay. There's a long list, but by making the list itself may not make a successful investment, because there's a lot more factor to it, very dynamic. But there are certain key factors we're looking at. The number one, of course, is the team. We believe a team is a group of people has certain synergy, has known each other for a long time. Not just a group of people with a good resume and then they put together in the last couple of months.
With a track record.
Right. Also, we want to know how long have they doing this. Because if you just have an idea for 3 months, and that's probably, we're not going to take it seriously. Because investment is about evaluating how the team will run. It's like entrepreneurship is about racing, right? Depends on how fast you go.
Yeah. It's two sides of the same coin, right?
Right.
One is operational, one is more like passive.
Right. So we want to see the team is able to keep innovating, constantly come up with new ideas, and constantly executing really well. Because once your staff prove to be useful, there will be tons of people follow you and copy you. So you have to be able to constantly solve new problems and meeting new challenges. That's the only way you can beat competition, basically.
And how do you define a successful exit, right? You invest into something, especially in the startup world. Many investments are very illiquid. You make a decision, essentially, for many years to invest into a team, as you said. How do you define the success?
Actually, as a startup or as entrepreneurs, the chances of success is very low. So for any companies that can be acquired by a big company, normally we consider it as success. At least return the principal back to the investors. That's a good exit. But for very successful exits, we are looking at 100 times return for investors.
And so, like, AMINO is based in Silicon Valley, but also has ties to China. So, how do you see sort of the innovation landscape, developing as China is also catching up in so many ways in other countries? How do you sort of interpret that?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So, most of the partners are Chinese origin. So we are all originally come from China, although right now we are all U.S. citizens. So we have a strong bonding with the Chinese community, either in Silicon Valley, also in China. There's a huge opportunity there because compared with the European, U.S. is more moving fast.
Yeah.
Has a lot of innovation. But compared with China, people feel like the rhythm, the way to do things is a lot faster in China, even faster than US. So if European level of speed is here, US is here, China is here. So
maybe we should all move to China.
but it's a lot of problem as well. So that's why there's certain challenges. So it depends on your goal and your lifestyle. We have an environmental problem there in China to be solved. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity in the sense. The infrastructure is still under construction, but also the demands ordinary people have not been met. So there's a huge amount of opportunity, plus the huge population there. But things has changed a lot. Right? For example, when we talk about mobile internet, they don't have much line in China. In many areas.
Yeah, they skip from no phone to iPhone.
Yeah, they basically skip the entire step of a line. So right now, the mobile payment and the mobile app actually are very good. So even many companies are learning from it. Like we just come back from YC Demo Day yesterday, quite a few companies, they are doing mobile payment. So they're talking about using Alipay as their example to show the investors somehow they could be Alipay for Brazil, or they could be the Alipay for US, or they could be the Alipay for like Africa. So
yeah, this is very interesting, because back in the early 20th century, if you think about Germany, was a huge exporting country, but people would always make fun of Germany, making cheap quality. It's the same thing with China, right? People say, oh, it's just exporting cheap things, cheap quality. But what we're now seeing is this huge wave of innovation, and China leading the world in so many ways.
Right.
And so you position yourself in a really interesting way, because you're based here, but you also have all these Chinese influences, which is very unique.
Right. So you raise a very good point, because we invest over 100 companies. 25% of them went to China. And the average performance for the companies who went to China are much higher than the company who stay in the US. I think the reason is they are able to go to China, they basically have a plan B, right? For people who can only work in the US, if they're successful, they're successful. If they fail, they fail. But for people who are able to go to China, they might find a second chance in China. So that's why the people who went to China has a higher level of success so far for the people who are investing. Of course, they get a lot more support from the Chinese local investors.
So you talked about earlier when you said how you make an investment, and the team is very important, the technology. But what also about the marketing aspect of it, right? The people using it, right? The business aspect, the sales aspect. How do you also look at those things, and how do you evaluate sort of the traction of the product has and the technology?
Yeah, so the big trend is very important. So no matter how good you are, how hard you work, if you're not riding the next wave, then it's unlikely you can make it big. So how to identify the next wave? Basically, there are a few principles you need to follow. One is Moore's law. So compare with the phone, right? Talk about the phone. 10 years ago, because of the computation capability and the storage are very low. So there are very limited things we can do. But as the things progress, the speed and the storage of the phone can go fast so quickly, then a lot of things that couldn't be done now can be done. So that gave new companies some opportunity, like Instagram, YouTube. They're all based on the new speed, internet speed, right? Without the higher speed, those applications simply not possible. So in the future, same thing. There's certain things we cannot do right now, but as the Moore's law continue to go, and the cost of storage, the cost of computation will continue going low. And in that case, there are a lot more things we can do. Another thing is, as we mentioned earlier before the camera, so it's the blockchain.
Blockchain, yeah.
So those open the new areas, new opportunities.
Well, what are your thoughts on blockchain?
Well, if we think the blockchain is this big, I think that the Bitcoin is this. So Bitcoin has proved that's
one use case.
There is a very small use case compared to the huge potential of blockchain technology. Go beyond Bitcoin is the Ether, right? Ether also proved that blockchain very useful. However, with the new technology, with the new amount of computation power, and the new desire for people to work in a decentralized environment.
There'll be even more evolved use cases.
Right, even more.
And more secure protocols.
Right. So one of the things about blockchain is concerned about the performance. Right. So this could be resolved by the technology advancement.
And so how do you see like investing changing itself because of blockchain and like, you see these ICOs now?
By raising money through ICO or initial coin offering, basically the investment paradigm has changed. We invest in the startups, we take a certain amount of equities because we invest in the company. However, that company issue coin in a separate society. And VC may not, as investors, we may not have any kind of equity or shares in those new crypto community. So that presents a very challenging environment. But I always believe the new things has to be done by new people. So as a VC, we are getting more and more help with the younger people who has a lot of experience in cryptocurrency.
Are there any final remarks on?
Well, it has been quite right being an investor because we take a lot of risk. Also, we benefit a lot by the successful investment. Most important thing is doing investment gave us the opportunity to talk and work with the most interesting people in Silicon Valley.
Right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you
so much.